Did you know in the Windows IoT channel, we have access to a Callus server license option, which really simplifies your life? Stay tuned to learn more about it. Let's jump into it and let's start talking about the new Callus Windows Server IoT license option for both Windows Server IoT 2022 and 2019. This new server Callus option can really make a difference in simplifying your life around the Windows IoT server products. And that's because when we start talking about the licensing around client access licenses, it gets complicated and it can actually end up costing you a lot of time and resources. And it's tricky when you get into some of the Microsoft licensing around client access licenses. So the image that you're looking at here is a image that's been around since Windows NT days, over 20 years. And it is a really good image that Microsoft uses to basically explain a client access license, which is a license for a client to access a Windows server. And in the diagram, I added Windows IoT server to the names there to show you that these are two Windows IoT servers. And you're going to have users or devices accessing them. That image worked great for 20 years. Nowadays, with Windows IoT, it's not quite as simple when it comes to what is a user and what is a device. Back in the older days, it was pretty much an employee, a person, or a device, their computer accessing. Nowadays, there are so many different types of devices, especially in the IoT market space. And even when it comes to a user, is that really a person? To give you an example, I wrote a blog a few years ago, which I'll reference in the video description, which was called "Does My Cow Need a Cow?" And that was a situation where an OEM built a solution that monitors dairy cows at a farm. And ultimately, the question was, well, is that cow treated as a user, or is the cow or the device that's with the cow treated as a device? And then, the OEM would have to get into discussions of how many cows does the dairy farm have? And the company that's making this, they're not usually going to be trying to ask those type of questions. So it really complicates things. Nowadays, with this Callus license option, wow, it really simplifies that OEM's life because they no longer need to ask the question anymore. What happens is all of this goes away. You just buy the Callus part, and the license terms that basically state that the server requires a cow is removed. And basically from there, no cows required. And man, it's a huge benefit. So the other thing, when you open the can of worms of trying to figure out how many cows you need, the first question that usually happens is, what is a cow? And it's a client access license, a license to access the server. What happens in an everyday life here is we'll get a request to quote a part number for Windows Server, but they didn't ask for cows, right? So we typically have to open that can of worms and reply back and say, well, here's your part number for the server, but it requires cows. Do you know how many you need? How many cows do you need? What type do you need? Do you need user cows? Do you need device cows? What qualifies as a user? What qualifies as a device? And then the last one there is, well, what happens if the end user already owns cows? A lot of times they don't want to buy any more. And a lot of times you don't want to get into those discussions because they usually don't know what cows are. So everyone runs around, and then what'll happen is an OEM will just say, well, just give me 5 or just give me 10. And they'll sell their solution with 5 or 10 cows, but ultimately their end customer may be completely out of compliance. They might be, if they were to get audited, they may not have enough cows. And they're going to turn back to the OEM and say, why didn't you sell me enough cows? And you see where we're going here. It gets really tricky and complicated. Let's simplify that. Let's just remove all of those questions and just sell the server Calus license option. And man, super simple. What are the benefits of buying the Calus server license option? Well, as we said, it simplifies the licensing. All those questions go away. No need to ask them. It reduces your customer compliancy concerns. They're always going to be in compliant. If they were to get audited, they will be found compliant because they have a server license that doesn't require CALs. And then another big one is it reduces the number of part numbers to manage. So if you're a procurement person and you're buying all these Microsoft part numbers, well, you just removed 8 CAL part numbers from your list of parts to manage. No more having to worry about those parts. You just shrunk the list down a lot less. And then it also reduces your inventory. One thing we always hate is if you were having a server integrated and you're waiting for all the parts to come in, and then all of a sudden it's waiting on a CAL, a license for a CAL. No more worrying about inventory or worrying about having an order wait for that client license to show up, right? So huge benefits to the Calus option. Let's take a look at the actual part numbers. This is for it's only available for Server IoT 2022 and 2019. It's not available in the regular channel. It's a very specific license option for the OEM IoT channel. And it again allows OEMs that are building a server fixed purpose solution to use a server license that removes the license terms that require client access license. Now, the asterisk is it still will require remote desktop services CALs or RDS service CALs. That would still be required if you happen to be using RDS services or remote desktop services. Again, 2022, 2019, only options, standard, the only option. It's not available in a data center. We've been asking Microsoft for a data center option, but currently a data center option for Calus is not available. Data center gives you unlimited virtual machines, not unlimited users. Some people get that mixed up with data center. You typically buy data center for the unlimited virtual machines. You still need CALs for a Windows data center server license option. So that's your Calus option. Get with us here at Arrow, Windows IoT at arrow.com if you have further questions or you'd like a price quote on that. No special amendments, no special agreements. If you have a CLA, you qualify. Move your license options to this new Calus option. It does cost a little bit more, but you're buying CALs and putting them on top of the server license anyway, so you would have paid for it anyway. So it's definitely an option to take a look at and start using. Thank you guys for watching the channel.